Hey everyone, so it is the time of year that a lot of people are stressing out over college applications, and in particular, they're pretty worried about the college essay. Looking through Quora and Reddit and College Confidential, there are a lot of people wondering what are college admissions officers actually looking for in these things. So I'm Elizabeth. I went to MIT. I graduated in 2013 and worked at MIT. Now I am one of the assistant directors of admissions here. But before that, I used to sit on committee, read applications, volunteer as an interviewer. So TLDR, I have a pretty good sense of what at least MIT is looking for. If you are super stressed about the college essay, you don't need to be. In general, people worry way more about the essay than they need to. It's not something that is going to make or break your application 99.9% of the time. Actually, no single part of the application can make or break you unless you have a bunch of Fs. That's going to be a deal breaker. We can also tell when essays have been edited or groomed by like a college admissions consultant. And we're not big fans of those essays because they usually come off pretty fake. And all those books that are like 100 essays that got someone into Harvard, they're usually a bunch of money-making schemes. Breathe a sigh of relief because you don't need to hire an admissions consultant and you don't have to buy a ton of books in order to get into MIT. You just need to follow the most common piece of advice, and it's also the two most infuriating words in the English language. They are, be yourself. What does that even mean? A lot of people feel pressure to adopt some sort of persona that they think a college wants to see. So for instance, you have someone who's like perfectly coiffed. The only thing I love more than volunteering at the soup kitchen to see the glimmer in Greta's eyes is doing my math problems. If that's you, that's great. I'm guessing that most of you are not actually like that. So let's say you create this persona, right? This person who loves math, is super community oriented, and somehow, let's say you fool us and you get in and you come to MIT, but it turns out that you actually hate math and you think it's a waste of time to help people if you don't get anything out of it. You're going to be pretty miserable here. You're not going to do really well. So it is in your best interest to honestly represent who you are, especially in your essays, because that's who we're trying to learn about, that's who we're trying to meet and try to figure out, would they do well at MIT? Would they be happy here? The other tendency is to think that you have to be super over the top or memorable. Actually, we really like super plain, normal, earnest essays. The admissions officers here have read literally hundreds of thousands of essays. There's no essay that they haven't seen before. I usually keep a box of tissues with me when I'm reading applications because that's how often the essays make me cry, which is not saying much. Anyway, but a good essay is not necessarily one that makes us cry or laugh or remember you or anything like that. Like a good reaction that you want an admissions officer to have is, oh, I feel like this is pretty representative of them and I feel like I know a little bit more about them than I did from their test scores. I know the application isn't perfect, but the essays are at least one section where you can show us a side of yourself that's more than just the numbers. Don't overthink this. When we're asking you those questions, we're literally just asking you those questions. It's not a trick. MIT has 5 short questions. We're not on the Common App, and we're not trying to torture you by making you write more essays. We actually just want to see like really quick snippets. We don't want you to spend a whole lot of time like crafting this super long life essay. So let's go through the questions one by one. The first one is, we know you lead a busy life full of activities, many of which are required of you. Tell us about something that you do simply for the pleasure of it. And it's 100 words or fewer. Okay, this one is the one that I think a lot of people overthink, but we're just literally asking you what you do for fun. Imagine a campus that is full of people who only study computer science. They only do computer science for fun, like they program stuff for fun, and they don't do anything else. Contrary to popular belief, MIT is not like that. Even though we have pockets of people on campus who really do like to hack and like make cool things and program for fun, we have a pretty diverse campus, and I think that is because people have interests outside of class. Okay, the second essay is, although you may not know what you want to major in, which department or program at MIT appeals to you and why? And it's another 100 words or fewer. So you're not bound to this by any means. Like, we don't have quotas. We're not like, oh, we can't accept this person because they want to major in math and we already have too many math majors. It doesn't work like that. If the only reason you're applying to MIT is because you heard we're the best tech school, science school in the world. Heck yes, we are. You should really do some more research. If you don't know enough about MIT to be able to say, hey, I think I would want to study this here, again, don't overthink this one. We really just want to know, like, what are you interested in? Okay, number 3 is at MIT, we bring people together to better the lives of others. MIT students work to improve the communities in different ways, from tackling the world's biggest challenges to being a good friend. Describe one way in which you have contributed to your community, whether in your family, the classroom, your neighborhood, etc. And this one's a little bit longer, can be between 200 and 250 words. Okay, if you're applying to MIT, you're probably pretty smart. You can catch on to the theme here, which is don't overthink these. We are just asking you what is an example in which you have shown that you care about people other than yourself. It can be anything from, tutoring or like helping a classmate, helping your parents wash the dishes, like if you help cook or take care of your siblings, if you're part of a community organization and you guys like clean up trash. Those are just 3 of hundreds of different ways that you could take this essay. We're not expecting that you've started some like national organization or anything like that. We just want to know, like, do you care about other people? And if so, just like give us one example. It can be something really small. It could be something really big, but small is fine too. If you can't think of a single way in which you have shown that you care about people other than yourself, probably aren't going to get into MIT, and also you should probably be a better person in general. Describe the world you come from. For example, your family, club, school, community, city, or town. How has that world shaped your dreams and aspirations? 200 to 250 words. All right. Again, don't overthink this. You don't have to paint yourself as this like super exotic applicant. We just want to know what perspective you bring to the class. If you ask any alum what their favorite part of MIT was, or like what the most valuable experience they had coming here is, I will bet you good money that they will say that it's the people that they met. And most of the learning, I think, happens from just being around such an amazing peer group. The people I lived with had the most profound impact on me while I was at MIT in terms of like my development as a human being and what I learned and how I think about the world, and all of that was just by virtue of who they were, and they were all really different and they brought really different perspectives here. You can interpret this question however you want. I think in general we're asking you to talk about some sort of external factor of your life that shaped who you are. I think I actually wrote about my little brother, who is much, much younger than I am, and we're very close. He like definitely shaped my worldview and how I thought about things, especially since he was so much younger. So you can write about your family. I could have also talked about my hometown. I'm from the middle of Missouri, and a lot of that impacted me in a way that I didn't realize until I got older. I could have talked about my racial heritage. I could have talked about being Korean American, but that actually wasn't something that I thought about that much until like maybe last year, so that is why I did not write about that. Could have written about my high school. I had this group of friends that I would eat lunch with every day. There's a club of people that they are your family, write about them. Basically, write about anything in your life that's like external to you that you didn't really have much control over, that has really shaped your identity or the way you think about things. All right, and then the last one is tell us about the most significant challenge you faced or something important that didn't go according to plan. How did you manage the situation? Okay, so this one's actually a really important one because MIT is hard. It is a difficult school. I wouldn't trade my experience here for the world, but if you're someone who's not okay with being challenged or with things not going perfectly according to plan all the time, this place really isn't for you. And again, that's okay, but we want to see people who are going to thrive here. We don't want to create miserable experiences for people. So we just want to see that you've experienced setbacks and that you've learned from them, or we just want to see how you react to that kind of thing. You don't need to have climbed your Mount Everest. Your significant challenge doesn't necessarily need to be something really, really devastating or tragic, although we have read essays, and again, I cry at all of them. And sometimes that really works if that's something that has shaped you a lot, write about it. But I think a really impressive essay can be something that's like, I used to be really cocky and immature my sophomore year, and I really hurt my friend's feelings. It was the first time I had to like be humbled and say sorry. You don't need to have experienced a major tragedy in your life to understand what it's like to overcome setbacks. This essay is not setting up like suffering Olympics. If you don't know anything super major in your life to write about, one, just be thankful that you haven't experienced too many tragedies, and two, everybody has to make the most out of lots of situations, no matter how small they are. All right, so all this advice can seem really overwhelming. There's so much stuff out there about people talking about this kind of essay you should write, and this is the language you should write. If you are a really great writer and you love creative writing, don't stifle that. Just don't feel pressured to churn out something that's like really not in your voice. When an admissions officer gets your essay, when I get your essay, you want me to be like, oh, this was a really helpful essay because I have more data points about this person that I can sort of use alongside their letters of recommendation and their activities and interests and test scores and classes that they took, and get a good sense of, who is this person. There are a lot of really great blog posts that have been made by current students and some other admissions officers that I will put in the links down below. So hopefully that was more helpful than it was stressful. I'm hoping to do some of these vlogs a little more often if you guys find them helpful. So if there are other parts about the application process or about MIT or about college in general, feel free to leave those questions and I will try to answer them as best I can.